Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89. Quentin Tarantino versus Bruce Lee. Basically, Tarantino trashes Lee's legacy in his newest film, his ninth film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Set in 1969, and basically it uses a lot of characters and a lot of events from the era from 1969. Sharon Tate and Charles Manson and her murder, Bruce Lee, who is in Hollywood at that time after making The Green Hornet. But the Bruce Lee that they depict is more the 70s Bruce Lee. And it's a parody. He's an arrogant Asian, angry Asian man, arrogant, just an asshole basically. So Shannon Lee, his daughter, unfortunately had to sit through the film and sit there while people laughed at her father and at his image and his presentation. He's in that film. So basically, Brad Pitt's character, there's a downtime on the set, and Bruce Lee, because he's this arrogant Asian guy who has to just challenge everyone to a fight just to show how good he is, challenges him to a fight. He loses the first round. Brad Pitt loses the first round. The second round, Brad Pitt throws him into a car. And he goes on a speech about how his hands are a lethal weapon and how he could beat Muhammad Ali and all this stuff. And for starters, Bruce Lee never said that. His wife said in a biography that some critics said that if he was basically, if he would win if he was in a fight with Muhammad Ali. He never said that. So get your facts straight and do your research for starters, Quentin, assuming that information is right. But there's just this underlying racism to it that somehow this Asian guy was out of place and had to be put in his place. Like, how dare Bruce Lee have any confidence? How dare he be possibly arrogant? How dare he actually think he's as good or better than some white guy? Of course, has to challenge a white guy, has to be beaten, or has to be taken down a peg or two, or made look stupid or an asshole because how dare this Asian guy think he's as good as, or even better than these Hollywood, good old boys, these white guys. That's the underlying thing I think that's offensive about it. Tarantino may not have intended to do that. He might have intended to trash him, but he basically has. And even if it's subtle, I don't give a fuck. Bruce Lee is a holy cow. I mean, there are so few. I don't know. Is he the only Asian icon in cinema? I mean, can you think of anyone else? I can't. And to take that image and to undermine it and basically make him into a joke. Now, people already know Bruce Lee know this is a bullshit attempt at parody, but people who don't might think that that's all he was, just some arrogant blowhard, which is the way they depict him. And he wasn't like that in real life. He was confident. He was super confident. He was so I mean, he was my size. I am not a big guy. He was the same height as me, and I think there was a moment where I realized, oh shit, I'm the same weight and height as Bruce Lee. Yay! So I know he wasn't a big guy, and he didn't win because of brute force, and he did it because he had skill and he had just mental strength that he could outwit or out maneuver men twice his size and stronger, and that was the whole point. That you didn't need. Tarantino doesn't get it. He doesn't get Star Trek. I'm really scared because he wants his next film, or he's considering his next film to be a Star Trek film. Now, Star Trek is about peaceful exploration by a future evolved race of humans, basically. And so Tarantino, who is all about belligerency and stupidity and violence and crudeness and just everything, the absolute opposite of everything Star Trek stands for. He wants to take that on and basically drag it through the dirt and trash it, because apparently you have to trash everything that probably threatens you. So the idea of someone using their intelligence and being non-violent apparently threatens Tarantino so much that he has to destroy it and make it into basically part of his violent, vulgar universe. Um, and apparently Bruce Lee was a threat to him too, because he had to take him down a peg or two. He had to turn him into this arrogant blowhard that gets put in his place. And this is a theme that you see with a lot of white, white male artists, tours that they all, and yes, there is this anti patriarchal sort of assault on like popular culture at the moment, and I don't like that myself, because not everyone is a racist, sexist, misogynistic white guy. Who, not all white guys are that and have to be taken down a peg or two. They don't. Some do though, and Tarantino, who was buddy with our friend Harvey Weinstein, who's one of the biggest rapists in Hollywood, and hasn't exactly shown the most respect for women in films. I mean, we all know that he nearly killed Uma Thurman because he basically made her. Yes, she participated, but she felt pressured into doing a stunt herself and was nearly killed, or at least was injured when a car she was in hit something, because he wanted, and it was just, he didn't care about her. He just wanted the shot. And there's a level where that sort of passion for film is praiseworthy, but then there's times where it's just arrogant, single-minded, just narcissistic, just all about you and your glory, and you don't. Yeah, so I have no respect for Tarantino. I don't like his films. They're all style over substance. They're all just overwhelming people with just violence and just. I really, really, really don't want to do the next Star Trek, and I really am disappointed, because I was excited about this. I was going to see it because I was excited that the era and just the idea, the story, that like just this period in time was amazing. And I really wanted to see a cinematic depiction of Sharon Tate and Charles Manson and that murder and Bruce Lee and all that. And when I saw the preview, I thought, oh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. For some reason, I forgot how bad Quentin was, and just sort of thought he could actually make a good film by concentrating on these really popular, powerful images, which is all he does, is just take things from popular culture and throw them into a blender of violence and vulgarity and extremism, and then throw it back out in people's faces like, wow, I shocked you, that's art. Well, anyone can do that. I can't say anything good about him. And who am I to criticize the great Quentin Tarantino? So who cares what I say? Doesn't matter. But yeah, so not happy. I was really excited because I thought he would love Bruce Lee and he would just make Bruce Lee fucking awesome in this film. And even if it was an exaggeration of Bruce Lee, it would be in a good direction. So I'm really disappointed to hear that he went that way with the character. And I'm really scared to see what he does with Sharon Tate's murder and Charles Manson, because Charles Manson was just a pathetic little loser who manipulated weaker people to do things that he didn't have the balls to do, and then spent the rest of his life claiming he freaking wasn't responsible for it. Although I think he had a few periods of saying, yeah, I did it, because he then wanted the credit, because once he became that notorious, then that was... But we don't want to talk about Chuckles. Good old Chuckles. Yeah. Not happy Tarantino. And dear God, leave Star Trek alone. It's already been raped into submission. It is fucking lying on the floor bleeding to death. That's the state Star Trek is in at the moment. It is almost dead. It's been absolutely violated and killed by friggin' Kurtzman and JJ, and it's just breathing heavily and slowly bleeding to death. It could be saved, but with the remerger and everything, if they can get some other people in charge, some people with some actual talent who don't want to dumb it down. And that's the scary thing. I know why they're going for Tarantino, because he's exactly the opposite of Star Trek, and that's what they want Star Trek to be. The absolute opposite. A dumb fantasy that anyone can watch, as opposed to an intelligent niche show. So, yeah, please, Tarantino, go make your own. Make your last film be an original work that your fans can just suck up and love. Don't fuck with Star Trek. And I wish he hadn't fucked with Bruce Lee. But Bruce Lee's legacy will outlive this flight. That's all. Thanks.